Guys, sorry about that echo. I'm gonna try the without the headphones. I'm gonna see if that makes a difference. I really honestly could not hear any any echo at all. So I really do apologize for that. I'm going to try again, see if we can get Kia up and running. I really couldn't hear any echo, guys. I really
Let's
am
see. A
sorry.
little bit
Can you hear
better.
me now?
I'm still getting a bit of an echo, so I'm not too sure if the people will be getting that as well.
I don't know either. Yeah, I mean, you on my side, I look fine, but you look a bit blocky. So I don't know what's going on,
As long as I
and
look good.
I'm hesitant to I'm hesitant to touch anything just in case I cut this feed or if I do something I shouldn't
Yeah,
do or invite some random other
it's just
person. So
okay. Let's see now.
don't worry, your hair's fine. I see you brushing your fringe.
Yeah,
You're all good.
it's
Don't
my
worry.
hair's like falling all over the place today. So, and I'm not in the best light right now. So, yeah,
Okay, there we go. Okay,
I think it's a
tough.
bit better. The echo's not as bad. I think it was maybe your headphones.
Possibly, yeah. I've been stressing about the sound quality, so I just took them out, and
Yes.
at least that's good to go.
Yeah. Oh, but it's sounding much better now. Not as bad of an echo, slight echo, but not as bad.
It could be the signal too. Actually, the network
Could be.
not on the best of networks right now.
All right, so I think let's get stuck
So
in it. Yeah. You were asking me
yeah,
something.
your family. Yeah, was it a close knit family, or I mean, would you consider it to be a very close knit family where you felt comfortable enough to be yourself?
So, the thing is that I think with every person's family, you'd find that there are some people that you gravitate towards, and that there's some people that you actually do not. And I think when we grow up, we have this perception in our mind that you must get along with everyone. And I think as I've gotten to understand some things, and then also having gone through some things myself, I've realized that that is not always the case, and that it's okay not to, not to really be clicking with someone, and not to actually be hard on yourself because of it. And I think that it's something that I do a lot. And it's interesting because, I work within media and I do a lot of things and I'm super, super busy. But in terms of just like yourself as a person, like you have to keep yourself very grounded. And a lot of what, and I think that's why you're asking me the question, because a lot of what one learns when you are a child and when you're growing up, that foundation is what you carry through in your life. And that can have a huge impact on what you are going to be, how you're going to be interacting with people and things like that. So I think also just working in media, you have this thing of, I must always be okay. And I find it so empowering that there's a lot of celebrities now who have come out and said that they're actually not okay. Because at the end of the day, it's very important that, you know, you're providing a service to people, even though you're working within the entertainment industry, you're providing a service to people. A lot of people look up to you. A lot of people identify with you. And a lot of people feel that, for example, if there's a 12-year-old girl that's looking up to me, I need to be that example. So when a 12-year-old girl can say, oh my gosh, like Kia's also gone through some things in her life. I'm still quite young, but I'm starting to go through stuff and I'm feeling a little bit disorientated and I don't know what to do in my life. That's nice to have like that sort of outlet, knowing that somebody out there who's perhaps in essence, even though this person works in media, like a complete stranger, but heck, someone resonates with me. Someone understands. So I just think it's so empowering that a lot of celebrities, I mean, whether it be celebrities that work as presenters or wherever it is that you are actually saying that they're not okay. And it's okay not to be okay. And I think, if anything, that COVID has highlighted those things so much more. And if I were to kind of elaborate on that, I think that COVID in essence has really made those who weren't even depressed.
Yeah, very true.
We're all going through it. We're all going through it. But I think that, and this is from my own personal experience, that when you have that depression, it's very easy to fall into it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when things like this hit you.
Yeah.
You know? So,
That's very true.
exactly. So coming back to family, there were people that I gravitated towards, and there were people that I did not. And funnily enough, I've got like this one cousin, and she's not on here tonight, but I should have actually invited her. And she is just my foundation. She's my everything. She's like my best Mikey, you know? And it's amazing how from childhood we carried that friendship through as family, but as friends, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't as if it was a parent or a sister or possibly a brother. It was actually a cousin.
It was my cousin. So I know people have this perception in their minds that like, and especially now that I'm a parent myself, I'm really not perfect. Like I've never claimed to be perfect, but you put a lot of pressure on yourself thinking like I'm supposed to be just like on top of it mom all the time, and you can't be. And if, you know, your children gravitate towards a cousin or an auntie or whatever. I mean, I've got an aunt of mine who ended up being also one of my best friends. You know, an aunt. It's like, you know, my mom's family, someone's cousin, but it's my auntie. And it was okay because in the time when I was going through something, I needed her to be my anchor. I needed her, and she was brought to me, and it was all good, you know. And so I find also that you have these spaces and pockets in time where when somebody's suited to be in your space, and sometimes also when you call it out and you say like I need some help, you know, and I'm gonna go off on a little bit of a thing here, but you know I feel like I pray, you know, and I say like God, okay, listen, brother, it's like or sister, a little bit going a little bit crazy, please help. And I always find that somehow, even if it is something that you're pushing into the universe, something that you're pushing into, you know, into that space, it just gets answered. And so I've had people that have helped me along the way. And I always like, I bless those moments, like in my mind and in my soul, and that keeps me going. But I really do think that COVID has knocked us so much.
Yeah,
and it's hard.
People didn't expect to get hit as hard as they did.
Yeah.
We just thought it was going to be that initial 3-week lockdown.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I just changed my notes in my meetings. I thought, okay, I'll move them to the end of March. 16 months later, we're still sitting here not knowing what's going on.
You know what I mean? And the unpredictability and the predictability of that is just something that's been so highlighted now. So I think, like, I mean, it's easy to just say, oh, find your coping mechanism. Oh, it's going to be okay. Be positive. I get so annoyed sometimes because I'm a very positive person. And you know me, like sometimes you're feeling low and I'll boost you up a little bit there on Twitter and we'll have like a moment. And I do that, and I do that with a lot with people because I see pain and I always want to help. But it's like, you know, and I think that's what's so important as well. It's just like that reaching out, you know. If you see someone in pain, I mean, heck, just acknowledge it. You don't have to be, you know, like nasty, or you don't have to be cold or whatever. Just acknowledge it. You don't even have to be like someone's chummy. Just acknowledge it. You know?
Yeah, I think there's also that, what is that term? Toxic positivity.
Mm.
You're trying to ignore what that person's going through.
Mm.
Trying to make that person's feelings completely invalid and just telling them, no, stay positive, smile.
Yeah. It is in essence, like you're saying, I mean, it's actually, in a way, disrespectful to the human spirit to tell somebody, oh, just be positive when they're going through a lot. You don't know that person's story. And that's why I think like discussions like these are so important. Like you don't know someone's story. You don't know what they're going through. And
especially now,
especially now. And I think for me, like, I mean, you know, people come to you, like, I work in media, so it's like, oh, that person is so nasty. I don't be friends with him, you know? I mean, that happens a lot. But I always say to myself, like, until I know that person, I can't go judge and say that that person is nasty or that that person is too full of themselves or whatever. And maybe they are full of themselves, but you don't know how they got there. You don't know their frame of mind. You don't know what they've sat with that made them reach that point. So even when people are nasty, and I think as much as it is sometimes a strength of mine, it becomes almost like a disadvantage as well, because people tend to walk all over you when they see that you care so much. So I've had to set boundaries, and I think that's also, it's really important. It's like setting those boundaries. But yeah, so it's like, as much as that is a strength, it is something that one also must be wary of, and not let people take advantage of you. You know, but see those things in people. Yeah.
All right. Speaking of cousins, were you the loud child growing up, or were you the?
It's so funny that you
Okay, I think that answers my question.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Or were
I
you the shy child?
what?
The shy girl? Were you the shy child? Were you?
So I was an introvert growing up, which people find hilarious. I was an introvert growing up, very quiet, into my books.
I wouldn't think that. I wouldn't have known
No,
that.
like I was like nerd deluxe. I was the nerd.
Oh, wow.
So complete bookworm, nerd, straight A student. Yeah, that was me. I mean, I was giving the apple to the teachers, literally.
Oh, okay. One of those.
I was the nerd. You'd be like, oh, please, like, you know. I just want to say hi to some of the people that are joining us. Hi, Jason. Hi, Mark. Yeah.
Oh, nice paying
Thanks for
attention.
joining
Sorry,
us.
I'm so
No, don't worry. We got
sorry, guys.
stuck in conversation. Sorry, guys. I'm just checking my hair. Thanks for joining. Hi, Nazim. Hi. Yeah. So, so I was a quiet child growing up, and then as time went on, became a little bit more expressive, and I find myself where I find myself today.
Yeah, we just hear that laugh, and I think everybody cheers up. To be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, did you always want to be? Speaking of media, did you always want to be in media, or did you actually at one stage have another career in mind?
So I really do love nature and the environment. I always thought I'd be a marine biologist. I actually was convinced I was going to save the world.
Well,
I was going to save the world and help everyone respect nature and the environment. And yeah, then I grew up and then things became a little bit complicated with life. Had to go work and things like that. Did a lot of sales jobs, stuff like that. And funnily enough, I think media actually found me. So I was like, you know, always on a mic, having to do announcements, you know, like, attention all customers, for the next 5 minutes and 5 minutes only, we have the 10-kilogram pack of potatoes going from R10.99 to only R8.99. That was me. So I did that a lot. It was like, oh yeah, I did the one where you do the announcements, like to say to people they must finish up. So, attention all game customers. The store will be closing in the next 5 minutes. Please be so kind as to finalize your purchases and make your way to the nearest game point. You see what I'm saying? Yeah.
Was that you?
Hey?
Was that you?
That was me.
Wow.
I see Leslyn's also joined us. Hi, Leslyn.
Hi, Anne. Hi, Leslyn. Hi. Thank you for joining, Leslyn. Very special woman, that shame. She does some amazing spiritual work.
Really?
Hi,
lovely to meet you, Leslyn.
So yeah, back to the media question. Can you remember at exactly what point it was that you decided you wanted to actually be in broadcasting? Was there a pivotal moment when you realized this is what I want to do? Or was it a gradual?
I think it was gradual. It was gradual because I always used to have people come and approach me when I was working at like Hyperama, doing the specials and game doing the specials. And people used to say to me, oh, you sound so fantastic on the mic. Have you ever tried radio? And I didn't really want to do it because, my dad was working in radio. And I thought to myself, I don't want to be like my dad. And eventually I decided, like, why not try it out? And then when I did, get into radio, and I wanted to get my demo together, I thought, I went to my dad and I said to him, oh, don't you want to, like, hook me up, like organize, like, Hoy and my demo there. I didn't mean like he must basically give it to me, but in essence, just kind of like, take my disc and go give it. And he said to me, no. He says, if you want this, and you really want this to work, you are going to have to fight for it yourself. And at
Wow.
that time, my car got stolen and I had to take a taxi. Wait, I first walked up to the main road. I then took a taxi all the way down to the station. From the station, I then had to, get to Cape Town station, and then I had to take another taxi. And then eventually I ended up keeping in mind.
I told you, you need to move closer to the south. You won't take so
Wow,
many taxis.
I should have probably just done it in the first place.
Yeah.
Oomblik nasie by Amalia. Hi Amalia, hoe gaan dit?
Hi, Manya.
Hoe
Hi,
gaan
creators.
dit?
Thank you guys for joining. We really appreciate this. Growing up, were you ever exposed to any forms of mental illness, or did your parents and family shelter you from that type of discussion? I'm not sure how open
So,
they were with you about mental
so
health.
interestingly enough, like my mom's a social worker, and she obviously works with a lot of patients who, she couldn't really discuss, obviously, because it was private and confidential information. But I remember her having a very tough time at certain points in her life, because she had to obviously, deal with, the influx of patients. She's very good at her job. She became the chief social worker of GF Jewista Hospital. And they were dealing in a lot of trauma cases at the time. It's obviously gangster ridden, and, it was quite an experience when they would come in and look for the other gangsters, kind of thing. So my mum was always like, on her nerves. And so she had that background, and there's a lot of things that she gave me, which was really powerful, which helped me a lot in terms of just, also foundation setting. And then, eventually, like, I mean, my father was a high school teacher at that point as well. So, like, my parents were always like, jy moet nie eens probeer om aan te vang nie, want ons sal weet wat jy doen. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So my parents were like super strict, and then that's how it was. And I remember something that really like stuck in my head, and it was an aunt. It was actually on my father's side. And I had heard that my aunt had hung herself. And I couldn't understand why. And then later found out that it was because she was depressed. So she had depression, and then she committed suicide. And this was actually, it's like one of my father's sort of distant cousins. And for some weird reason, even though I wasn't present there and I didn't see it happening, I always had this visual of seeing like this person hanging in her face. And that really like, sat inside. And I remember that even though, I mean, I had a very good, like, solid childhood growing up for quite a while in my life. And I had a really great balance. And, but I always had this, like, nagging feeling, you know what I mean? I can't even explain it. It's just always this feeling. And I think we all have it in us. And I think that what happens is that it gets triggered by something. So everybody's got it in them. We've got a little bit of this, a little bit of that. That's who we are as people. And then eventually it just, like something triggers it, and boom, the same way you get a light bulb moment in life, you can get a down bulb moment in life, and it happens.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes also life just throwing things at you, and it's either sink or swim,
Yeah.
and I found myself like in those moments,
Wow. You see, that's why I wanted to do these type of conversations, because people see you everywhere on TV screens, print media,
Yeah.
social media, but they don't actually. That's the first I've heard about that.
Mhm.
You know, I'm sure people can probably check your bios, your biographies, your social medias, but what you just shared now, I'm pretty sure majority of us did not know,
Mm.
and that's why we need to be more open about these type of things,
Yeah.
because it's happening. It's happening every day, every hour, every minute, and people unfortunately try and hide that it happens, and you can't anymore. We've got to face these type of things. So thank you for sharing that.
You're very welcome.
Wow.
I've always hoped that through, I think that's also the other thing. It's like hoping that through the things that I've gone through, that I'm able to strengthen other people, you know, when I talk to them. I think also when you're someone who's gone through it or going through it, that you can quickly see someone suffering much quicker than someone else that lives a bit of a blanketed life. And I'm not saying that everybody does, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just life. Some people have that kind of life. Some people have another kind of life. It's just
Yeah.
what it is, you know? And I think also that, so I had a best friend of mine. And a few of my friends know about this. And she was like my best friend, right? She taught me radio when I started radio, and she also committed suicide. She was she turned 33, I think, round about the time, 32, 33, thereabouts. And it was hard for me because I was staying in Joburg and I couldn't be around her. And I remember coming down from Joburg for a weekend, and I thought, like, I have to go see her because I obviously had heard she'd been hospitalized, and you know, because she attempted to commit suicide the first time. And then I went and I checked up on her, and it was quite like, it's just something you don't forget. And I remember seeing her face, and almost like a light had gone out of her. And she was heavily medicated at that time. And I remember speaking to her, saying to her, you know what, just like hold on. And I tried to give her little things to help cope, and small little things like beading and stuff. And I know it sounds a bit silly, but I thought if she keeps her mind busy, that she won't lapse into that zone. And unfortunately, she had a lot not, she wasn't feeling 100% because she actually had a chemical imbalance. So what I'm trying to say is that some of us have, like, we have these moments and we can actually use them to strengthen us, which I chose to do in my life. But sometimes we have a chemical imbalance. Sometimes too much has happened. You can't find your way out. And sometimes with her, the second attempt, she was successful. And I remember almost like something feeling like it went dead inside my heart. And I still feel till this day like there's this void that can't be filled because she's gone and I can't get her back. And I talk to her. I talk to her, you know, and I get mad, and years later I still ask her, like, why did you leave? We had so much that we were still supposed to do as friends, you know. But she was an amazing support system for me, and I couldn't believe it happened. And I remember her mother actually said to me, because she was someone who worked within the industry, and her mother said to me that out of all the people that came to her funeral, her mother only knew myself and one other friend. And she said that she just, like, we were the only ones that really came. We were her friend. We came to her house. We visited. We spent time, quality time, that kind of thing, helped each other out. And she was just so shocked that all these media people came to her funeral, but she didn't know who these people were because they never came to her house. You know, I'd met her mother and things like that. So it's just like things like that sits in my head, and it hurts, you know, a lot. And I sometimes think to myself that
Yeah.
say, and I'm sure that people who have kids
Mm-hmm.
it feels like you're spiraling down, down, down to me. It's almost like partially shutting the door on that and not allowing it.
Wow.
My children helps. I find like my husband's amazing. So like him and I have deep conversations. I remember like I get what I call bluesy from time to time, which we all get, but I really got very bluesy. And we would train. We would be exercising and I would literally break down. Like I would just start crying for like no reason. And that's just unfortunately the you know, that it sits when things get a bit too intense, anxiety builds up.
Yeah.
So it does get a little bit hard.
That means
Yeah.
to just let it out somehow.
Yeah.
Because
So for me, exercise is a huge thing. But imagine when you're like, everybody's like, oh, you must train and you must eat well and blah, blah, blah. And then you go and you stand in the gym and you're about to go train and you break down and you physically can't pick up a dumbbell.
yeah.
You can't do a lunge because your mind is not there. So it's so important that you have someone that understands that and can hold your hand. They don't have to give you advice. They don't have to dissect everything and psychoanalyze you or whatever. Just be there. Just stand there. Sometimes you just need someone to stand there and hold your flipping hand. You know?
Yeah, you don't even have to say a single word. You just need that one person just to feel that energy, just to feel
Exactly.
something.
And I think that's what you do. Like with you, like you do the cope with hope, which
Mm-hmm.
is a way that you take what you've gone through to help others be okay. You're not going to be able to save the world. I must just tell you, Dylan. You're not going to be able to save
I'm
the
trying.
world. I know you're trying. I know you're trying to
I'm
save the
trying.
world.
I really am trying.
But you're not going to be able to save the world, but you can at least try and help within community. Because when you help one person, that helps someone else, and then someone else, and someone else. So you don't affect only one person's life when you help them with Cope with Hope. You're actually helping so many others. You're helping families. You're helping extension of families. You're helping that person's friendship circle, that person's mother, that person's dad, brother, whoever. So important to remember that.
I think it was a year ago when we spoke on radio, and I said to you that if I can turn that past pain into future power,
Mm. I remember.
just for
Yeah.
one person, you'll at least feel like you've done
You've done
something right. Like
something.
it's going to be a ripple effect.
Yeah, definitely.
But I
100%.
will,
100%.
I will save the world. I promise. Um,
Don't
you
forget us
mentioned
little people in the background.
little people. You doing me a massive favor here, little people. Um,
Anytime. Let's say hi to the guys that joined us, Fitness Moves and Funny. Ooh, funny kerk, Rian. Ooh, funny kerk, Rian. Hello, hello.
to read as well. Hi guys, sorry we're so caught up here. We're not focusing on you guys. I apologize.
Nee, dis als reg.
You mentioned that your best friend got you into media,
Well, that got me into
and
media. She just assisted me to teach me the technical side of things. She was basically training me.
that's correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. I saw on Facebook you just actually we're just deviating a bit that you started a new venture.
Oh,
Any
yes.
radio shows?
So I'm officially now with Book
Another
Radio. Sorry.
radio show.
Yes, that's right. So I'm officially with Book Radio. It's Afrikaans radio station. I host my own show Mondays to Fridays now, 9 to 11 a.m. Focuses on entertainment, basically movie releases, what's new on the circuit, and then also just like taking a look at theatre as well, which I think is so important because at the end of the day, we all need it right now, especially in media. I think media people have been hit really hard with COVID and the effects thereof and work. So it's just an honor for me to be able to showcase people and give them a bit of a platform while in essence having my own platform as well. So it's basically helping hands, which I think is so powerful. So yeah, and I officially started, was it yesterday? Today's Tuesday, right? Yeah, I officially started yesterday. So tomorrow's Wednesday. Yeah, okay. So I'm there.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay.
Okay, I had to write this down, right? See if this is correct. You're a radio and TV presenter,
Yeah.
MC,
Thanks, Joey. Yes.
ambassador for the WWF,
Yeah.
co-founder of Mycelia Media.
Mycelia Media, yes.
Sorry, yes,
That's
I
right.
told myself, I remember from biology.
Mycelial, like mycelial, yeah, mushrooms.
There we go, the mushroom, the fungi, I think it is, from the
The
mushroom.
network, yeah.
That's why I failed biology. What else? Deputy spokeswoman, I think it is, for Car Powership.
Yeah, no, that's just about finished off, yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
It's so long. With all of those, and I'm sure there's a million other things I forgot to mention, how do you find the balance mentally and emotionally with all that going on? Because
Well,
surely that takes it out of you somehow.
it does, but like if it wasn't for all of those like freelance things that I'm doing and keeping myself on my own toes, then I think I would be very bored. I just love being busy, but I also do enjoy the fact that I'm able to double in so many things. So I'm quite blessed and I'm quite lucky that I work in an industry where I can do television presenting and radio presenting. I do producing as well. That I do digital content creation. That's also something that I do as well. And I MC because it's actually part of the job. So master of ceremonies, and also I try and push as hard as I can wherever I can. I try and sort of keep it within that circle. Even though it seems like I'm doing a lot of stuff, it's all joined up in one, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I think if anything, it keeps me busy and it's a lot of fun. So I enjoy keeping busy like this. It really is a lot of fun for me. But yeah, and I'm looking forward to doing so much more. So yeah.
That's great. I mean, I'm sure that there will be some new venture that will be treated to. So I look forward to that as well. I just want to say hi to Mickey Glamour and to Henry. Wow.
Hey guys, what's up?
Thank you guys for joining. Important question. With all that you do, when do you reach that point where you say enough is enough? I need to put my mental health first.
Yeah. So sometimes when you take on so many things, unfortunately, you take on a lot of people with it, which means that it's so many different personalities and so many different energies that come into your space. So I find that when things get a bit overwhelming, I love people. I love hanging out with people, but I find sometimes I need to actually be like, I need quiet. I literally I switch off. It's a forcible switch off. I force myself. And for me, what I've done is I said to myself, okay, listen, like, if it gets a bit much, then it's like, that's it. I'm taking a day in the week. Nobody must talk to me. My phone I'm not going to be checking my WhatsApps as much. And I actually tell people, and I think I've actually seen a lot of people do it. I tell people like, I'm offline. I'm offline. You're not going to get a hold of me for today. you know. And I see people doing that as well, which I think is so important for just your mental stability. Like it's important that you do the switch off. It's important that you
Yeah.
disconnect. Because I always find that when I disconnect, when I reconnect again, I've got all this energy, you know, and I'm ready to start the new week. But
You
I
said that
also
just
find, sorry.
no. You said that just takes you a day.
Well, it depends. Like it depends on how much of a load of energy of everyone's energies that I've had. So if it's like just a little bit over the tip, then I'll do the day. But if it gets a bit much, then I'll take a weekend and I'll be like, no one must disturb me. And I'll just be at home, like cooking, you know. I
Yeah.
find cooking and baking is so therapeutic, and so I just do that. And I cook, I check out new recipes. I don't eat meat, so I find it always it's a bit of a challenge. Yeah, no, you also don't eat meat, but I don't eat
Not
meat,
at all.
so you know, I find it a bit of a challenge with food. Sometimes when you go to like a restaurant or whatever, obviously with COVID now, I watch myself more. I don't really go out, um, but I just love home
Yeah.
cooked food, and I have found that I've experimented so much with like my foods right now. So it's like it's a lot of fun, you know, different kinds of spices that you put together. And I made an eggless, dairy-free cake for my husband's birthday. And it was the first time I baked since I was in high school. It was a long time ago. So that was like
Wow.
pretty awesome. It was the most delicious flippin' cake ever. And I didn't have to feel guilty about it.
No, because I saw his lemon meringue look pretty
I know
vicious.
he also gets a little bit, yeah, no, no, no. My husband also gets a little bit, you know, experimental in the kitchen. For me personally, like I'm actually quite good with the very, like the Thai kind of flavors, the Asian kind of flavors, mostly because I feel that when you go plant based, that those are the kinds of things that are going to give you like that spices and things like that. So, yeah, he makes lemon meringue from scratch. Can you?
Actually, if I didn't see that picture, I wouldn't have believed it. I really wouldn't, because I'm so used to seeing, the DJ side, not the chef. But I've actually got a question here from Josine. Eggless cake. I think we might have lost Kia. Oh, there she is. Oh, you froze for a moment. I got panicked. I worried. Are you still there? I can see you. I just can't hear you. I'm just wondering, guys, if we might have actually lost Kia.
Okay,
Are you
you're
still
back.
with us?
Wow, you just went
You are.
completely off. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you. It was like blocky again and freezing, and I don't
So
know what's
what
going
did
on.
Josine ask?
She's curious. Eggless cake.
Oh, yes, Josine, eggless cake. You don't always need the egg to bind the cake. You just use other things. I can't remember what I used inside the cake. I was following a recipe, but it was a lot of fun. I promise I'll make it for you sometime, okay?
We're gonna keep it to your word. This is gonna be recorded.
Oh, my word.
Um, you mentioned being a parent earlier on. Um, do you think that schools should implement some type of mental health program
Oh,
for the
yes.
kids?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not necessarily
That's
the
actually,
youngsters, but
it's actually a very good suggestion. Um, that's I think it's so imperative, like it's important, it's so important. When COVID became a little bit intense, I mean, I had friends of mine chatting to me about their kids and things like that, and then I eventually ended up um just myself going through it, and I thought to myself like, oh no, my kids are fine, you know. And my 9-year old, I mean, she was 8 at the time, and she said to me, she just burst out crying. And she said to me, and I asked her, like, what's wrong? What's going on? And she asked me, why is life so hard? So I said to her, but life
Wow,
is a
that's
bit
just
hard
unreal.
sometimes, my baby, but not all the time, because now I have to try and motivate her. And obviously I'm feeling a bit down because of COVID. And she then said to me, I just want this virus to
Mm.
go away. Can it please just go away? So how do you answer like an 8-year-old with a question, with statements like that or questions like that? And
Yeah.
even said to me the one day, I wish I could be a bird and just fly away, because we had to sit in the house on level 5 lockdown and we couldn't come out. And so, you'd go into the yard and you try and make it if we're going through this pandemic. It is so important that there is some sort of support for children.
Yeah.
And you remember, and that you had as a child, it happened to you as a child, or you went through it as a child. That's so important. If anything, I think maybe you should be an advocate for that. Speak to the schools and try and get them to assist kids when it comes to just their mental state, and be able to give them those building blocks to help them with proper therapy in schools or some sort of curriculum that tries to, I wouldn't say uplift because it sounds like such a cliche, but you know what I'm trying to say? Some kids need that a bit more. I mean, we're all different as adults. How do we expect each child to be the same? You know?
Exactly, and especially like you said now during COVID, when you're trying to explain to a 6-year-old why he can't leave the house,
Yeah. And all your kids
which
want to do
can't
is leave the house. Yeah.
precisely, yeah.
It started feeling like you're living in your own jail cell.
Yeah,
I know it sounds a bit extreme, but that's what it felt like to me. I was classified an essential worker, so I could go and I could, go and work. But I was going to work, sanitizing the whole section where I work,
yeah,
mask on, distance, so it wasn't even like a normal working environment. It felt very strange. Constantly in panic, you're like, sanitizing. I mean, they started calling me the sanitizing queen at work because I was sanitizing everybody. And I just say to them, I would stand with a bottle and I'm like, come close to me, I'll sanitize you. Like in a joke, but you know what I mean.
I mean,
It's hectic.
you've got.
So anyway, so I mean, I
I
ended
just
up
got
like,
some
and then
people
I'd, and
saying.
I'd, I'd go to work and then I'd come home and I can't go anywhere.
Mm,
So I felt so sorry for my family. I felt guilty for having the few hours to be able to drive to work with my certificate, so that I wouldn't get stopped and told like you got to go home because it's curfew. So I'd have
yeah,
my certificate, I had everything, I had all my paperwork, and just coming home and having this feeling of guilt, like looking at my family, thinking I can't even get them to come with me to work just to get out of their headspace. You know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so we've got some people joining us here again.
I see. So yeah.
I've missed some of the names. Natalie, hi, Christone, and Tabatso. Hi, guys.
Hi guys. Thanks for joining.
Um, again, speaking of your children, do you have any tips for single moms, parents out there on how to keep your children mentally and emotionally strong and
Oh
active?
God. So the reason why I'm laughing is because anyone will tell you that we're all winging it.
True.
We're
I mean,
all
this is
just
what I don't
winging it.
know.
There's no manual to good parenting. We're all just winging it and we're just praying to God it's going to be okay.
I know I wasn't even sure if I should ask that question because I kind of, I don't have kids, but I deal with kids in the
No, but
settlements.
that's, look, so that was just like my little sidetrack there. But um, in all seriousness, if I were to, a picture, because it can get a bit much after a while, and you're like, oh, it's like the 10th picture that, my son is showing me, but
Yeah.
look at the picture, encourage him, encourage her, your daughters, and say like, wow, that's amazing. And the other thing is, it's very important as a parent, even though this is now advice that you're asking me for your children, that as a parent, you just disconnect yourself. You need like a little bit of that me time with your brain and with your soul and your spirit in order to be really great for your kids, you know? Especially now with what we're dealing with, because everybody's on top of each other and it's like, can't anymore. But give yourself that quiet time, even if it means going to another room in the house. That's what I used to do when the pandemic just hit and I couldn't go anywhere. I'd find a little room section, I'd get my book out and I'd read for an hour and then no one must disturb me. But that made me feel okay and I could like deal with things again. The other thing also is be very interested in your kids' stories. Like when they come to you and they say to you, Mommy, my friend this, my friend that, or Mommy, somebody upset me today, or whatever. It might sound like they're just bringing stories to you, but like this is part of their foundation and it's building their character. So if you show them that you have a really good interest in their relationships and their communications, I find that because I've been like this, and thank goodness that my daughter is very open with me and will come and say things to me, but that's really upsetting her. And it's very important to always keep your door open all the time.
Yeah.
Always keep your doors open.
Speaking again of your children, I might have seen, I think I remember seeing or reading, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm crossing any lines, but you didn't think you were able to have children, is that correct?
Yeah. I was told that I actually went to a doctor and I was told that I can't. It was just some issues with my ovaries. So I don't want to get into my ovaries right now, but it was just some issues I was having with my ovaries. So I was told that I can't have kids. I cried for about a year, mostly by my dad. Yeah, because I was quite upset that even though I didn't want to have kids at the time, when I found out, I did want to have the choice of being able to have children. So they're my two little blessings. I mean, and I got a pigeon pair. I got a girl and a boy. So I'm like, awesome.
Exactly. And I mean, when you hear those words that you can't have children, being a guy, I can only imagine mentally and emotionally how that must play on your mind.
I must just say that if there's one thing I can tell you from everything that I've learned in life is that when you get told something, it doesn't mean you must just accept it. Because even though I was told it, I still believed that one day, I was like, ugh. And I get it. I get like, if, for example, I mean, people get diagnosed with things and then they feel that there's a sickness that they have and it's a death sentence. I just don't believe that you should give in to that. You must fight to the bitter end for everything and anything. And you have to believe that anything is possible. Because as much as we believe things are bad and can happen, things are good and can happen. And we have to have that outlook on life because I don't think we're going to survive if we don't. That's just my 2 cents. So even though I was told that, I was like, I'll see. I mean, I cried for a year. I was very upset. And then I was like, okay, I'll see. I'll see. Maybe. But anything's possible. And look what happened.
Yeah, but now you've got two little, a girl and a boy. I mean,
yeah,
you've got the family. So
the fam, yo.
you've got the family, but how does the family, how are they able to work around your hectic schedule? Are you able to?
Oh no, so yeah, no, my kids are so used to my hours already by now. And especially now, even working from home, I say to them, listen, I've got a meeting coming up. You guys got to be quiet. And they actually listen, which I think must have been my good parenting. If I were to give
I'll
myself like a pat on the back, it's my great parenting skills. Yeah. So that's fine.
no, give yourself that pat in the back. I mean, how many children, complain, mommy's not home, daddy's not home enough,
Yeah.
so, I'll take that as a win. Um, Going back to what you said about diagnosing and being diagnosed, do you believe that saying healthy body, healthy mind is is relevant when it comes to mental health? Or do
Yes,
you
I do.
think that mental health and depression you can't associate with healthy body, healthy mind?
Um, I think if there's one thing that I would just love people to open their minds to is that what you put into your body affects everything inside your body. And
Yeah.
say, for example, I eat processed foods and I'm eating, a whole lot of rubbish. So my body reacts and I get a gluten intolerance, and then your body reacts and you're like, and it doesn't even react, is what I'm trying to say. So we're all different and we're all
Yes. Right. Mm-hmm.
but you have to find out what those foods are. So healthy body, healthy mind is not only eating a certain way, you have to look at things holistically. What's your schedule like day to day? What's happening in your life? Like how is your lifestyle? Does it suit you? Is it okay? Are you putting too much pressure on yourself? Are you not? Maybe you need a little bit of pressure. I mean, that's just totally up to you. Are you exercising? Do you meditate? I mean, meditating is so important. It's like it's a time for you can bond with your creator, or you can just up to you what you want to do. Um, being quiet, being still, just like really being quiet, switching everything off. It's so important. So it's a holistic look at your body and your spirit. It's not just, I'm not going to eat processed foods, for example. But people tell you that when they go on detoxes or, they clean out their system or whatever, that they feel energized. So if it affects your body to that extent, then what does it do to your mental health as well? I mean, there's even, you know, uh, like, I don't know if you ever, what was that movie's name with Susan Sarandon? Oh, now I can't get to the name of the movie, but it was a movie about Lorenzo's Oil. Lorenzo's Oil. It's an old school
Oh, is that it?
movie
Yes.
based on the fact that there was it was a boy, and I forget what he was diagnosed with, but Susan Sarandon is the lead actress in it. And
Yes.
basically,
Oh wow.
her husband's a scientist, and he
I
then
can't.
discovers that there's this oil, like I think it's something to do, I don't know if it was olive oil or what it was, but like oil, and he actually, and it's based on a true story, and it just shows you that and they managed to turn this around, and this boy, became healthy because that literally was affecting him. I've even had a friend of mine who has said that her son he's got ADHD, and she had to change his diet when he was growing up in order to get him to calm down, because everybody was giving her son medication. So it was like the doctor's giving you meds here, and he's like, your teacher tells you must get your child under control. And that's literally what she was doing. She was feeding him meds, and it would change him, and he would look like a zombie, literally, because he was just non-functional, because the meds was making him drowning his everything out. And she was like, bugger this, I can't have my child look like this. I can't. And it was her firstborn. And she then decided she's going to change what he eats, and that's what she did. And her son is now a healthy, functioning boy. He's all good,
Good.
you know. So it just shows you like food does affect it, definitely. Anyway,
That's
all right.
sorry, I'm just keeping an eye on your time here. I said half an
Yes,
hour,
yeah.
and I think I've still got. I think I'm halfway through the questions actually.
Okay.
So I'm working on your schedule. If you want to do a part two,
Well, we can
or
definitely
if you need to
organize
go,
that. I think also you must know I have to get my kids into bed now, and it's it's quite late for them.
that's
I think this is something that all of us need to discuss, and I think it's important that we have these conversations. Um, it's the only way that we can actually just open our minds and become better and healthier, in all ways. But it's very important that we have these discussions. So I'm very honored that you've asked me to come on, for the
no. I mean,
interview.
you've been supporting me since day one. You were actually the first Coke and Hope fan, so I owe you big time.
Ah, anytime. You
There is
don't owe me anything. No, I did it because, you know, it was the right moment, the right thing to do. It's life. And I'm just so glad I could help. And knowing that you're out there trying to help others, it just makes a person feel really great. So that's the reward that I get.
I really appreciate that and everything you've shared. Because the reason I would like to do a part two is because there are some pretty prevalent and hard-hitting mental health questions
Mm,
that I can't get to now for time reasons.
yeah. Okay, we
So
can definitely do a part
we've
two. Yeah.
covered your we've covered your 15, 20-page CV, and we've done all that.
Yes.
But looking at the rest of the questions that are coming up, some of these need to be addressed, and I think
Yeah,
that we've started a platform here that really, really needs to be continued. Some of these questions really need to be answered and asked. So if
definitely.
you're up for a part two, then I say we do it.
I'm up for it. We can organize the time and we let everyone know and we can do a part two. Thank you, Josine, for your comment saying this was informative. You're very welcome.
Uh, Josine, I promise when we do part two, it's going to be a lot more hard hitting. There are some very, very hardcore questions coming: mental health, depression, and hopefully we'll have the answers for you. But we are by no means trained professionals. These are our own answers, our own beliefs,
Our life
and
experiences, yeah.
here we go. Yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh, definitely life experiences. Yes.
Yeah.
So as soon as you're ready for part two, I'll put
Hmm.
the word out and we'll do this again because, like I
Amazing.
said, these questions are gonna be hard hitting. So
100%. Not a problem. Thank
I
you.
really
And
appreciate
thanks for
it. Before we
everyone for
go,
joining us.
thanks guys. Yes, and I will put the details on the Nova Chocolate giveaway tomorrow on Instagram. So
Woohoo.
yeah, I will either send you a DM or an email or pigeon mail or somehow I'll get hold of you and we see how your schedule's looking.
Amazing. Thank you, Dylan. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. I
Okay.
appreciate it. Thanks,
All right.
guys. And hopefully see you guys
Bye.
soon.